So yeah, Sabaton's Ghost Division. Now I have a slight suspicion of what this might be about, but I'm going to wait till the song plays and see if I'm correct. But I've got to talk about the elephant in the room. I'm wearing headphones, very scuffed. My speakers are broken, so I have to wear these. They are held together by tape, even if I can actually look in the right way. So only the finest quality on this channel. If anything, though, it might actually improve the audio of the music because you won't be hearing it through my lovely microphone. But I just thought I'd mention that before anyone gets into it. So as always, the link to the video will be in the description. I'm looking forward to this, and as always, I will pause and try and feed information where I can, if I can. Yeah, let's go.
Has begun, shaking the ground with the force of 1,000 guns. Thrust in the line of fire, thrust into hostile land, tanks leading the way. Leading the way. Charging the lines with the force of a furious storm. Phantom swarm, 200 miles at nightfall, taken within a day, thus earning the name, earning the fame. They are the Panzer elite, born to compete, never retreat. Living or dead, always ahead, fed by your dread.
Okay, so I assume that's the first verse and chorus there. And the reason why I got so happy actually when the chorus kicked in is because I've heard "They Are the Panzer Elite" bit from various different memes that some of my friends have sent me and stuff. So it's actually nice to actually be able to put a song to that. But yeah, so this kind of matches what my suspicions was, and this is about the kind of the German armored spearhead, or specifically Owen Rommel. You know, obviously made famous by their spearhead in the French offensive. When the German armour punched through the Ardennes and kind of raced to the coast to encircle the Allies and cause absolute havoc in the background, nicknamed the Ghost Division because Rommel acted on such kind of levels of autonomy, it just basically went wherever he felt the best initiative was. That meant that not only did his opposing force not actually know where he was, but even his own superiors for a lot of the time didn't actually know exactly where he was. Hence the name Ghost Division, which I believe was given to him by the French. Although I'm not good with French, so don't ask me what the direct translation is to that. But yeah, so that's the first verse. I'm liking the sound so far. So let's get into verse 2. Through a foreign land, massive assault, live to serve the Nazi plan. Communications broken, panthers are far away, thus earning the name, earning the fame. They are the Panzer elite, born to compete, never retreat. Living or dead, always ahead, fed by your dread. Okay, so I'm going to stop that there just before it gets to a guitar solo, before anybody gets mad at me for pausing it midway through that. So if I stop it before it starts, you can't have a problem with me, okay? Blitzkrieg, it said there, as the Blitzkrieg rages on. So Blitzkrieg, for those of you who don't know, is generally the kind of method that Nazi Germany used. And it's combined arms in nature, and it's all about force concentration. So while an opposing force might have far greater resources or far larger numbers, they might be spread out along a long line. But but if what you can do, if you can get an armoured spearhead, because that's the thing that a lot of people mistake, is the bulk of the German army was not armoured, it wasn't mechanised, but the armoured and the mechanised were at the spearhead. And that's what was seen and characterised in the French campaign and the Polish campaign. Essentially, Blitzkrieg is a armoured and mechanised or motorised spearhead, which punches through the weakest part of the line and then wreaks havoc in the rear. And as a result, ironically speaking, the whole idea of Blitzkrieg is to be able to win conflicts without actually fighting too much. And the whole point of that is because if you get bogged down in too many skirmishes, then you lose your initiative, you lose your element of surprise, you lose kind of your ability to kind of adapt and turn at will and keep the enemy on their heel. Whereas the moment you get bogged down is the moment that you start kind of making losses, and then obviously your initiative is lost in that. And, this would be characterised kind of, as I said already, in the French campaign, which is where the Ghost Division gets its name, where Owen Rommel kind of gets his fame before he goes to North Africa. And that is the Low Countries. Well, the main bulk of the Wehrmacht were engaging the Allies in the Low Countries, so your Netherlands, your Belgium, that kind of area. This armoured spearhead, of which Rommel was part of, punched straight through the Ardennes, which was the weakest part of the line, and then absolutely wrecked havoc in the Allies' rear. At one point, even quite comically, Erwin Rommel's own tank actually come across a French convoy, and he basically, to like something like 20 or 30 vehicles, essentially took them, like made them disperse by his own tank. And originally, some of them, it might be kind of a joke or something like that, I don't know if it's actually true, but apparently one of the French was so confused by this, they thought originally he was English. Such was kind of the havoc that he was causing behind the lines. But yeah, and it was this mayhem behind the lines and stuff like this, and this compromising kind of supply lines, communication lines, and just fear that the enemy is overrunning you and behind you. And bear in mind, an enemy has broken through the lines. You have sporadic reports of divisions here, divisions there, divisions moving everywhere. I didn't mean that for that to rhyme, but it causes panic in the lines, and this leads to strategic decisions as well, like Dunkirk, when the fear was being cut off and pulling out and evacuating when it's done. Arguably, in my opinion, I don't think Dunkirk, something like that would happen if there wasn't some sort of armoured spear thrust behind. So it's an amazing tactic, and Blitzkrieg working extremely well with Allied air support, not Allied as in Britain and France and all that, but as in the Luftwaffe working in conjunction, kind of blowing up targets or calling close air support whenever the kind of armoured thrust needed it. Having said that, though, Blitzkrieg is kind of a fast war. I mean, Blitzkrieg's own definition is lightning war, but it is really that. In order for Blitzkrieg to properly really work, it needs to win the conflict quickly, in my opinion at least. So it works extremely well in Poland, it works extremely well in the Low Countries, it works extremely well in France, and of course it worked extremely well at the beginning of Barbarossa. But the moment that initial surprise is gone and the war kind of grinds down into this more gritty, this more bogged down, this more kind of attritional combat, then Blitzkrieg kind of loses its momentum a little bit, because it's kind of hard to do the same thing multiple times when your enemy is now expecting it. And particularly in Germany's case, the reason why Blitzkrieg wasn't necessarily a wonderful tactical innovation, the way that they used this concept of fighting was amazing, but it was also built out of necessity. I can't remember what it was, but somebody at the Imperial War Museum done an amazing video which I watched some years ago now on this, and it was basically that Blitzkrieg for the Germans was a necessity because they didn't have the men or resources to fight a prolonged war, and that's why they needed to fight the wars quickly or win them quickly in the way that they did. And as it happened, with Britain remaining in the war, with Barbarossa kind of grinding to a halt, and obviously we know what happened on the Eastern Front, and of course the Americans getting involved, Blitzkrieg again didn't really have that effect anymore once the enemy could afford to basically replace the losses that they would kind of encounter in that. Obviously, again, after kind of the early stages of the war, post Barbarossa, the only time that we would really see another attempt at Blitzkrieg again in the form that we know it as would be the Battle of the Bulge. And you know how that went. It's called the Battle of the Bulge for a reason, in that it caused the bulge, but it didn't have that kind of decisive breakthrough as it did in the early war. But that's me rambling far too much about tactics. Let's see what our ending to Sabaton is.
tremendous force, bridging the way for Panzer Corps, crossing the line of fire, crossing the hostile land, tanks leading the way, claiming the fame. They are the Panzer elite, born to compete, never retreat. Living or dead, always ahead, fed by your dread. Panzer elite, born to compete, never retreat. Living or dead, always ahead, fed by your dread.
Is there any more? Oh, whoops. Oh yeah, didn't mean to actually to restart that there, but that has been Sabaton's Ghost Division. I don't really feel that I can add too much to this without going into extreme detail about Erwin Rommel, but as I've done with the last couple of songs, what I feel like, even if I know about the event or I know what the song is supposed to be about, I might still check out the Sabaton history because I'm interested in learning out how they kind of make the song. I'm interested in kind of what went into it, you know, what gave them the inspiration, the lyrics, that kind of the theme, the overall theme, because I actually do really enjoy the chorus of this. The chorus is really catchy and I can kind of understand why it's been included in so many memes now. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that song. I'm going to check out the Sabaton history version of that, and I hope you will join me for that as well, so we can learn together. And perhaps I'll provide a little bit more information on Erwin Rommel if it kind of comes up in that as well, because I feel like overloading in this one might be a bit too much, considering it's not really about Erwin Rommel, it's more about the Ghost Division as itself. But yeah, so thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you are safe, I hope you're well, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.